Jake, I just had the most awkward moment at work. My boss asked me, "How's your day going?" And I completely froze. I didn't know if I should tell him about my actual work, complain about problems, or just say, "Fine." I ended up saying, "Good, good," 3 times in a row like a broken record. It was so embarrassing.
Oh, Anna, that's exactly why we're doing this series today. Talking about your work in English is a critical skill, whether you're chatting with your boss, updating your team, or networking. Let's fix that right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk in English. I'm Anna, and today we're starting a special 10-part series all about talking about your daily work in English. We're going to teach you the exact phrases, vocabulary, and conversation skills you need to discuss your job confidently and professionally.
And I'm Jake. As you heard, I struggle with work conversations in English. I never know what to say when people ask about my job, my projects, or my day. I either say too much and bore people, or I say too little and seem unfriendly. I need help finding that perfect balance.
You're not alone, Jake. Many English learners feel uncomfortable talking about work. But here's the thing. Work is one of the most common conversation topics in English-speaking countries. Americans especially love to talk about their jobs. So let's start with the basics. Jake, what time do you usually start work?
I typically start work at 9 a.m., though I try to arrive around 8:45 to settle in before the official start time. I boot up my computer, grab a coffee from the break room, and check my calendar to see what meetings I have scheduled for the day.
That's great. You're using natural work vocabulary already. Settle in, boot up, check my calendar. These are all common phrases. When I arrive at work, the first thing I do is check my emails. I usually have about 20 to 30 new emails overnight, so I spend the first 15 minutes sorting them by priority.
20 to 30 emails overnight? That sounds overwhelming. How do you decide which ones to respond to first? I get anxious when I see a full inbox and don't know where to start. Sometimes I just ignore the difficult emails and only answer the easy ones, which isn't a good strategy.
I use the urgent versus important method. Urgent emails need immediate responses, like questions from my boss or time-sensitive client requests. Important emails can wait a few hours but shouldn't be ignored. Everything else goes into a folder to review later when I have time. This system keeps me organized and less stressed.
That's smart. I need to implement a better email system. After emails, what do you typically do next? Do you jump straight into your main work tasks, or do you have meetings first thing in the morning? My schedule varies every day, so I never have a consistent routine.
I try to block off the first 2 hours of my day for focused, uninterrupted work on my most important projects. I call this my deep work time. No meetings, no phone calls, just concentrated effort on whatever task requires my full attention. This is when I'm most productive and creative.
Deep work time sounds amazing. I wish I could protect my morning like that. Unfortunately, my boss often schedules early morning meetings, so I rarely get that focused time. How do you communicate your boundaries to colleagues and supervisors? I'm afraid if I say I can't meet then, they'll think I'm difficult or lazy.
It's all about framing. Instead of saying I can't meet then, try saying I'm most available for meetings after 10:30. Would that work for you? You're offering a solution, not just refusing. Most people respect boundaries when you communicate them professionally.
Yes, let's talk about meetings. I have so many meetings every week. Team meetings, client calls, one-on-ones with my manager, project updates. Sometimes I feel like I spend more time talking about work than actually doing work. How many meetings do you typically have in a week, Anna?
I usually have about 10 to 12 meetings per week, which breaks down to 2 or 3 meetings per day on average. Some days are back-to-back meetings. Other days I have no meetings at all. I try to group my meetings together when possible so I have larger blocks of uninterrupted time for focused work.
Grouping meetings together is smart. I never thought about that. My meetings are scattered throughout the day, so I get 15 minutes here, 30 minutes there, which isn't enough time to really dive deep into complex tasks. What types of meetings do you have most frequently?
My most common meeting is the weekly team stand-up, where everyone shares what they're working on, what they accomplished last week, and what blockers they're facing. It's usually 30 minutes and helps everyone stay aligned. We also do bi-weekly one-on-ones where I meet with my manager to discuss my progress and any challenges.
We have stand-ups too, but I always struggle with what to say. I don't want to bore everyone with too many details, but I also don't want to seem like I'm not doing enough work. What's the right amount of information to share in a stand-up meeting?
Great question. In a stand-up, you should be concise but specific. Use this formula. Last week, I completed X project. This week, I'm working on Y task, and I'm blocked on Z issue because I need input from the design team. That gives your team the essential information without unnecessary details. Keep it under 2 minutes.
Under 2 minutes. That's helpful to know. I tend to ramble and probably go on for 5 minutes, which I'm sure annoys everyone. What about client meetings? Those make me really nervous because I want to sound professional and competent, but sometimes I stumble over my words or forget important points.
Client meetings are nerve-wracking for everyone, even native English speakers. The key is preparation. Before any client call, I create a simple agenda listing the topics we need to discuss. I also prepare answers to questions I anticipate they might ask. Having notes in front of me during the call helps me stay focused and confident.
Do you actually look at your notes during the call, or do you try to memorize everything beforehand? I'm worried that reading from notes will make me sound unprepared or robotic, but I also can't remember everything without some kind of reference material in front of me.
I absolutely use notes during calls. There's nothing wrong with saying, let me check my notes on that, or according to our latest data, while glancing at your screen. It shows you're thorough and detail-oriented, not unprepared. Just don't read directly from a script, word for word. Use bullet points as reminders.
That's reassuring. What about those awkward moments in meetings when there's a long silence and nobody's talking? I never know if I should jump in and say something or just wait. Sometimes I fill the silence with nervous rambling, which usually makes things worse.
Silence in meetings isn't always bad. Sometimes people need a moment to think. Count to 5 in your head before jumping in. If nobody speaks after 5 seconds, you can say something like, I can start if that's helpful, or I have some thoughts on this if anyone wants to hear them. This sounds more confident than nervous rambling.
Count to 5. I'll try that. Okay, so we've covered starting the day and meetings. What about the actual daily tasks? That's where I spend most of my time.
Absolutely. Let's dive into daily tasks. This is the meat of your workday. Jake, can you describe what your typical daily tasks look like? What do you actually spend most of your time doing when you're not in meetings?
Most of my day is spent analyzing data and creating reports for my team. I work with spreadsheets, databases, and visualization tools to identify trends and insights that help our company make better business decisions. It sounds more exciting than it actually is. A lot of it is just staring at numbers on a screen.
Data analysis is valuable work, even if it's not glamorous. When someone asks, what do you do all day? You could say, I analyze sales data to identify trends and create reports that help our leadership team make strategic decisions. See how that sounds more impactful than just, I look at spreadsheets.
That does sound better. I need to work on describing my job in a way that highlights its value rather than just listing tasks. What about you, Anna? What are your primary daily responsibilities? I know you're in marketing, but I'm not exactly sure what that means day to day.
My main responsibilities include managing our social media presence, creating content for our blog and email newsletters, coordinating with the design team on marketing materials, and analyzing campaign performance metrics. On any given day, I might be writing an article, scheduling social posts, reviewing design mockups, or presenting results to stakeholders.
That's a really diverse set of tasks. Do you enjoy that variety, or would you prefer focusing on just one area? I sometimes feel like my job is too narrow and repetitive. I do basically the same type of analysis every week with different data sets, which can get monotonous.
I actually love the variety because it keeps things interesting and I'm always learning new skills. But I understand the appeal of specialization too. There's value in becoming a true expert in one specific area. Have you talked to your manager about potentially expanding your role or taking on new types of projects to add variety?
I haven't, but maybe I should. I'm worried that if I ask for different responsibilities, they'll think I'm not happy or I'm complaining about my current role. How would you phrase that request to a manager without sounding ungrateful or dissatisfied with your job?
Frame it as growth in development, not dissatisfaction. You could say, I've really mastered the sales data analysis, and I'm interested in expanding my skills. Are there opportunities to work on marketing analytics or customer behavior analysis as well? This shows ambition and initiative, not complaints.
That's a much better approach. Speaking of talking to managers, how often do you communicate with your boss throughout the day? Do you wait for scheduled meetings or do you reach out as questions come up? I'm never sure when it's appropriate to interrupt my manager versus figuring things out myself.
I try to batch my questions and updates rather than constantly interrupting my manager throughout the day. If something is truly urgent, I'll message or call immediately. But for routine questions, I keep a running list and bring them up during our weekly one-on-one or send a single email with multiple questions at the end of the day.
Batching questions is smart and respectful of their time. What about collaborating with coworkers on projects? How do you coordinate tasks when multiple people are working on the same project? We use project management software, but I still find it confusing keeping track of who's doing what.
We use project management tools too, and I'll admit they can be overwhelming. The key is clear communication. When starting a project, we have a kickoff meeting where we define everyone's specific responsibilities and deadlines. Then we do quick check-ins twice a week to make sure we're all aligned and nobody's blocked.
Communication with colleagues is something I really struggle with. Sometimes I feel like I'm bothering people when I ask questions, but if I don't ask, I make mistakes. How do you balance being collaborative without being annoying? I don't want to be known as the person who constantly needs help.
That's a valid concern. The key is being respectful of people's time and coming prepared. Before asking someone a question, do your own research first. Then, when you reach out, say something like, I've looked into X and Y, but I'm still unclear on Z. Do you have 5 minutes to help me understand? This shows you value their time.
That makes sense. Show your work first. What about informal workplace conversations, like when you're getting coffee in the break room and a colleague asks, how's your project going? I never know how much detail to share. Do they really want to know, or are they just being polite?
Most of the time, it's casual small talk, and they expect a brief answer like, it's going well, just finished the first phase, or pretty good, though we're a bit behind schedule. If they want more details, they'll ask follow-up questions. Don't launch into a 10-minute explanation unless they seem genuinely interested.
I definitely tend to over-explain things. I should work on giving shorter, more casual responses. What about email communication with colleagues? I spend so much time writing and rewriting emails to make sure they sound professional but friendly. Sometimes I overthink it, and a simple email takes 20 minutes to write.
Email overthinking is so common. Here's my advice. For routine work emails to colleagues, keep it simple and straightforward. Start with, hi, name, get straight to the point, end with thanks, or let me know if you have questions. You don't need flowery language or excessive politeness with people you work with regularly.
What about tone in written communication? I'm always worried my emails sound too demanding or too passive. Like, should I say, please send me the report? Or could you please send me the report when you get a chance? Or I was wondering if you might be able to send me the report.
The second option is perfect for colleagues. Could you please send me the report when you get a chance? It's polite but clear. The third option is too passive and wishy-washy. The first option is fine for direct reports or if it's urgent, but might sound abrupt to peers. Tone definitely matters.
That's helpful guidance. What about responding to emails? Sometimes I get emails that don't require a response, but I feel rude not acknowledging them. Do you respond to every email or do you let some go unanswered? I'm never sure of the etiquette.
If someone is just sharing information that doesn't require action from you, a simple thanks for the update or even just a thumbs up emoji is sufficient. You don't need to write a lengthy response. But if someone asks a question or requests something, always respond within 24 hours, even if it's just, I received this and will get back to you by Friday.
The 24-hour rule is good to follow. What about dealing with difficult colleagues? I have one coworker who's really critical of my work in team meetings, and it makes me defensive. How do you handle criticism professionally, especially when it feels personal or unfair?
First, take a breath before responding. Don't react emotionally in the moment. You can say, That's an interesting perspective. Let me think about that and get back to you. This buys you time to process the criticism rationally. If the criticism is valid, acknowledge it. If it's unfair, you can professionally disagree with specific examples to support your position. Jake, let's talk about the inevitable part of any job: problems and challenges. Every workday brings obstacles, whether it's technical issues, difficult clients, or unexpected setbacks. How do you typically talk about problems at work? Do you bring them to your manager immediately or try to solve them yourself first?
I tend to panic when problems arise. My first instinct is to immediately tell my manager so they know it's not my fault. But I've noticed that sometimes this makes me look incompetent, like I can't handle basic challenges. I need to find a better balance between asking for help and solving things independently.
The best approach is to come to your manager with the problem and a proposed solution. Instead of saying, the database crashed and I can't finish the report, say, the database crashed. I've contacted IT and expect it to be fixed by noon. In the meantime, I'm working on other tasks. The report will be delayed by about 2 hours.
So basically, acknowledge the problem, explain what you're doing about it, and give a timeline. That sounds much more professional and proactive. What about when you make a mistake? I made an error in a report last month, and I was terrified to tell anyone. I tried to quietly fix it, but it had already been sent to a client.
Mistakes happen to everyone. The key is owning them quickly and professionally. As soon as you discovered the error, you should have told your manager, I found an error in the report I sent yesterday. The correct number is X, not Y. I've prepared a corrected version and drafted an apology email to the client. Should I send it or would you like to review it first?
I like that approach because it shows you're taking responsibility and already working on a fix. I ended up hiding the mistake and someone else discovered it later, which made everything much worse. I learned that lesson the hard way. What about dealing with difficult clients or customers who are angry or unreasonable?
Dealing with upset clients requires patience and empathy. Start by acknowledging their frustration. I understand this has been frustrating for you. Then focus on solutions. Here's what I can do to resolve this. Avoid getting defensive or making excuses. Stay calm and professional even if they're being rude.
Staying calm is hard when someone is yelling at you. Do you ever have days where you feel completely overwhelmed by your workload? I sometimes have so many tasks and deadlines that I don't even know where to start. How do you prioritize when everything feels urgent?
Absolutely. I have those days too. When I'm overwhelmed, I use the brain dump method. I write down every single task on paper, then categorize them. Must do today, should do this week, can wait until next week. This makes the chaos feel more manageable. Then I focus only on the must-do today list.
The brain dump method sounds helpful. I tend to keep everything in my head, which makes me feel scattered and anxious. What about when you're stuck on a task and not making progress? Sometimes I spin my wheels for hours on a problem and get nowhere. Should I ask for help earlier?
Yes, if you've been stuck for more than 30 minutes, it's time to ask for help. But come prepared. Explain what you've already tried. I'm trying to create this visualization, but the data isn't displaying correctly. I've tried reformatting the data and adjusting the settings, but it's still not working. Do you have any suggestions?
That shows you've made an effort first. What about dealing with unclear expectations from your boss? Sometimes I get vague assignments like improve the customer retention analysis, and I don't know exactly what they want. How do you clarify expectations without seeming clueless?
Time management is crucial, Jake. Let's talk about how to discuss your schedule and workload professionally. When someone asks, do you have time to take on this new project? What do you say? Do you automatically say yes, even when you're already overwhelmed, or do you push back?
I usually say yes automatically because I'm afraid of seeming lazy or uncooperative. Then I end up stressed and working late nights to get everything done. But I've heard you should never say yes immediately. Is that true? How do you respond to requests without seeming difficult?
You should definitely not say yes immediately if you're unsure about your capacity. Instead, say, let me check my current workload and get back to you this afternoon. This gives you time to assess if you can realistically take on more work. Then you can respond with either, yes, I can do this, or I'm at capacity, but I could take this on if we deprioritize X project.
That's diplomatic. So you're not just saying no, you're offering options and trade-offs. What about when you're genuinely behind on your work and deadlines are approaching? Do you tell your manager proactively or wait until they ask? I always feel like admitting I'm behind makes me look incompetent.
Always communicate proactively. If you realize you're going to miss a deadline, tell your manager as soon as possible. I'm working on the quarterly report and I've encountered some complications with the data. Instead of Friday, I'll need until Monday to ensure accuracy. Is that acceptable? Early warning gives them time to adjust plans.
Early warning makes sense. What about tracking your time and productivity? Do you keep a record of how you spend your work hours? My company uses a time tracking system and I find it really tedious. Sometimes I forget to log my time and then I have to reconstruct my entire week from memory.
Time tracking can be annoying, but it's valuable data. I track my time in real time using a simple app on my phone. Whenever I switch tasks, I quickly log it. This takes 5 seconds and is much easier than trying to remember everything at the end of the day. Plus, it helps me identify where my time actually goes versus where I think it goes.
That's smart. I should try real-time tracking instead of end-of-the-day reconstruction. What about managing distractions during the workday? I get constantly interrupted by chat messages, emails, and colleagues stopping by my desk. How do you maintain focus when there are so many potential interruptions?
I use focus blocks where I turn off all notifications, close my email, put my phone on silent, and put on headphones to signal I'm concentrating. I communicate this to my team. I'm going into focus mode from 2 to 4 p.m. If it's urgent, call me. Otherwise, I'll respond after 4. Most people respect this boundary.
I like the idea of focus blocks. Do you work through lunch or do you actually take a break? I usually eat at my desk while working because I feel guilty taking a full hour for lunch when I have so much to do. But then I feel drained and unproductive in the afternoon.
Taking breaks is essential for productivity, not a waste of time. I always take at least 30 minutes for lunch away from my desk. Even a short walk outside or eating in the break room refreshes your mind. Studies show that people who take breaks are actually more productive than those who work straight through without stopping.
I need to start taking real breaks instead of working through lunch. What about the end of the workday? How do you know when to stop working? I sometimes work until 7 or 8 p.m. because there's always more I could be doing. How do you create boundaries between work and personal time? So, Anna, how do you actually end your workday? I struggle with knowing when to stop. There's always one more email to answer, one more task to finish. I end up working late most nights and then feeling burned out. Do you have a set time when you stop working, or does it vary?
I have a hard stop at 5:30 p.m. every day. I set a phone alarm for 5:15 that reminds me to start wrapping up. In that last 15 minutes, I finished whatever I'm working on, respond to any urgent emails, and create my task list for the next day so I can start tomorrow with a clear plan.
A hard stop at 5:30 sounds amazing, but unrealistic for me. My boss often emails me at 6 or 7 p.m. and seems to expect responses. If I don't respond, I worry he'll think I'm not dedicated. How do you handle after-hours communication from your manager or colleagues?
This is about setting expectations. I've communicated to my team that I check emails until 5:30, and after that, I'm only available for genuine emergencies. If something can wait until morning, I respond the next day. You train people how to treat you by what you accept. If you always respond at night, they'll always expect it.
That makes sense, but I'm scared to set those boundaries because I'm still relatively new at my job. Do you think it's different for junior employees versus senior employees? Maybe I need to work longer hours right now to prove myself, and then I can set boundaries later when I've established myself.
Working longer hours doesn't automatically prove your value. Quality work during regular hours is much more impressive than mediocre work stretched across 12 hours. Plus, working excessive hours leads to burnout, which decreases your productivity and creativity. Set sustainable boundaries from the beginning, not after you're already exhausted.
You're right about burnout. I'm already feeling it, and I've only been at this job for 8 months. What about work-life balance in general? Do you think about work when you're at home, or are you able to completely disconnect? I find my mind constantly drifting back to work problems, even during my personal time.
Complete disconnection is hard for everyone. I have a ritual that helps. When I leave the office, I literally say out loud, I'm done with work for today. It sounds silly, but this verbal declaration helps my brain shift gears. Then I have a transition activity like working out or listening to music that helps me mentally separate from work mode.
A transition ritual is a great idea. I go straight from my desk to my couch and wonder why I still feel like I'm working. I need something in between to mark the boundary. What about weekends? Do you check work email on Saturdays and Sundays, or do you completely avoid it?
I avoid work email on weekends unless there's a genuine crisis. Weekends are for rest and recharging. If you don't disconnect from work regularly, you'll burn out and your performance will suffer. Your employer benefits when you're well rested and refreshed, not when you're exhausted from working 7 days a week.
I admire your discipline. I check my email multiple times every weekend, which ruins my relaxation because I'm always thinking about work. How do you talk about work-life balance with your manager? Is that an appropriate topic to bring up, or does it make you seem uncommitted?
It's absolutely appropriate. In my one-on-ones with my manager, I've discussed my workload and made sure it's sustainable long term. I frame it as wanting to do my best work, which requires being well rested and maintaining balance. Any good manager wants their employees to have sustainable workloads because burnout leads to turnover. Jake, let's talk about professional development and career growth. This is an important part of discussing your work, especially in performance reviews or one-on-ones with your manager. Do you actively talk about your career goals with your boss, or do you just focus on completing your current tasks?
I mostly just focus on my current tasks because I don't really know where I want my career to go yet. I'm still figuring out what I enjoy and what I'm good at. Is it okay to not have a clear career plan, or should I pretend I know what I want even if I don't?
It's totally okay to not have everything figured out, but you should still engage in professional development conversations. You can say something like, I'm working on developing my data visualization skills because I find that aspect of my role interesting. Or, I'd like to gain more experience with client-facing presentations. This shows growth mindset without requiring a 10-year plan.
That's helpful. I could identify one or two skills I want to develop without committing to a specific career path. What about asking for feedback from your manager? I never know how to ask for feedback without sounding insecure or needy. How do you phrase that request?
I ask for specific, actionable feedback. I'd love your thoughts on my presentation yesterday. What did I do well, and what could I improve for next time? This is much better than vague questions like, how am I doing? Which puts your manager on the spot and usually results in equally vague answers like, you're doing fine. Specific questions get specific answers. That makes sense. What about opportunities for training or conferences? My company offers some professional development budget, but I feel awkward asking to use it. How do you approach your manager about attending conferences or taking courses?
I present it as a business case. Instead of, I want to go to this conference, I say, this conference focuses on advanced analytics techniques that would help me improve our reporting processes. It costs $800 and would give me skills to make our team more efficient. Can we use professional development budget for this?
Framing it as a benefit to the company rather than just personal development is smart. What about internal opportunities like switching teams or taking on new responsibilities? I'm interested in maybe moving to a different department eventually, but I don't want my current manager to think I'm unhappy or planning to leave immediately.
Timing and framing are everything. Don't bring this up until you've been in your current role for at least a year and have proven yourself. Then you can say, I've really enjoyed learning about data analysis, and I'm curious about how our marketing team uses data. Are there opportunities to collaborate with them or learn more about that function?
So express curiosity and interest in learning, not dissatisfaction with current role. Got it. What about networking within the company? Should I be trying to build relationships with people outside my immediate team? Or does that seem like I'm wasting time when I should be working?
Internal networking is incredibly valuable. I schedule informal coffee chats with people in other departments about once a month. I'll message someone and say, I'd love to learn more about what your team does. Do you have 30 minutes for coffee this week? Most people are flattered by the interest and happy to chat.
Coffee chats are a low-pressure way to network. I should start doing that. What about mentorship? Do you have a mentor at work? And if so, how did you find them? I feel like I could benefit from guidance, but I don't know how to ask someone to be my mentor without it being weird.
Anna, let's talk about company culture and workplace relationships. How do you navigate the social aspects of work? I find it really awkward because I don't know how friendly to be with colleagues. Are they just coworkers or can they become real friends? Where's the line?
That's a nuanced question. Workplace relationships exist on a spectrum. Some colleagues remain purely professional contacts, others become genuine friends you see outside of work. The key is being friendly and professional with everyone while letting deeper friendships develop naturally over time. Don't force it, but don't avoid it either.
How do you handle workplace gossip? Sometimes colleagues want to complain about other coworkers or share rumors, and I never know if I should participate in those conversations or distance myself. I don't want to seem judgmental, but I also don't want to get involved in drama.
I stay away from gossip. When someone starts complaining about a colleague, I might listen briefly, but I don't contribute or agree. I'll say something neutral like, that sounds frustrating, and then change the subject. Gossip creates toxic work environments and can come back to bite you if you participate.
That's wise. What about after-work social events? My company does happy hours and team building events, but I'm not sure if attendance is truly optional or if I'm expected to go. I'm pretty introverted and would often rather just go home, but I don't want to seem antisocial.
I try to attend at least half of the social events, especially the major ones like holiday parties or team celebrations. You don't have to stay the whole time. Showing up for an hour shows you're a team player without draining your social battery. It's about striking a balance between being present and maintaining your boundaries.
Showing up for an hour is a good compromise. What about discussing personal topics at work? Sometimes colleagues ask me about my weekend or my personal life, and I'm not sure how much to share. I don't want to be cold and distant, but I also value my privacy.
Share the highlights, but keep it brief. If someone asks about your weekend, you can say, "It was great. I went hiking with some friends. How was yours?" This is friendly without oversharing. You're reciprocating the social gesture without revealing anything too personal. Read the room and match the level of sharing others are doing.
Matching others' level of sharing is good guidance. What about dealing with office politics? I've noticed there are different cliques and power dynamics at my company, but I don't really understand how to navigate them. Should I align myself with certain people or groups or stay neutral?
Stay professional and friendly with everyone rather than aligning with specific cliques. Be known as someone who's collaborative, helpful, and drama-free. Don't take sides in conflicts unless absolutely necessary. Build your reputation on your work quality and professionalism, not on your social alliances.
Good advice. What about when there's a conflict between coworkers that affects your work? Like if two people on your team aren't getting along and it's making collaboration difficult. Do you get involved or stay out of it?
If it directly impacts your work, you can address it professionally. You might say, "I've noticed some tension that's affecting our project timeline. Can we have a conversation about how to work together more effectively?" Focus on the work impact, not the personal conflict.
Focus on work impact, not personal drama. That's a good approach. Okay, we've covered so much about daily work.
All right, Jake, we've reached part 10, our final segment. We've covered so much ground in this series, from starting your workday to meetings, daily tasks, communication, problem solving, time management, boundaries, professional development, and workplace relationships. That's a comprehensive look at talking about work in English. How are you feeling about all of this?
I'm feeling much more confident. I realize I've been making some mistakes in how I talk about my work, like being too vague when describing what I do, saying yes to everything without considering my capacity, and not setting clear boundaries. I have a lot to work on, but at least now I know what to focus on.
Exactly. The most important takeaway from this series is that talking about your work isn't just small talk. It's a professional skill that impacts your career. how you describe your responsibilities, how you communicate with colleagues, how you discuss challenges and solutions. All of this shapes how others perceive your competence and professionalism.
That's a good point. I used to think work conversations were just casual chit chat, but they're actually opportunities to demonstrate my value and build my professional reputation. Even a simple, "How's your project going?" is a chance to showcase what I'm working on and what I'm accomplishing.
Exactly right. Another key takeaway is the importance of being specific rather than vague. Instead of saying, I work with data, say, I analyze customer purchasing patterns to help our sales team identify opportunities. Instead of saying, it's going fine, say, I just completed the first phase and I'm starting the implementation this week. Specificity makes you memorable and interesting.
I'm definitely guilty of being too vague. I need to practice describing my work more specifically. What about the vocabulary we've learned throughout this series? I've picked up so many useful phrases like settle in, deep work time, brain dump, focus blocks, and hard stop. These sound so much more natural than the formal English I learned in textbooks.
That's the power of learning conversational English in context. Textbooks teach you grammatically correct English, but real workplace conversations use these natural phrases and expressions. The more you use them, the more confident and fluent you'll sound. Don't try to memorize everything at once. Just start incorporating one or two phrases into your daily work conversations.
Start small and build up. That's manageable. What would you say is the single most important tip for talking about work in English? If you had to choose just one piece of advice for our viewers, what would it be?
My number one tip is this: focus on clarity and professionalism over perfection. You don't need perfect grammar or advanced vocabulary to communicate effectively at work. What matters is being clear, being specific, being respectful, and being professional. If you focus on those four things, you'll be successful in workplace communication.
Clarity, specificity, respect, and professionalism. I love that. Those are concrete qualities I can work on regardless of my English level. Thank you so much, Anna, for this incredible series. I've learned so much, and I know our Talk in English viewers have too. I'm excited to implement these strategies in my actual job.
Thank you, Jake, and thank you to everyone watching Talk in English. We hope this 10-part series has given you the confidence and tools to talk about your daily work in English, whether you're chatting with colleagues, updating your boss, or networking at a conference. Remember, workplace communication is a skill that improves with practice.
If you found this series helpful, please subscribe to Talk in English. Leave us a comment about what aspect of work English you'd like to learn more about, and share this series with your colleagues and friends who are learning English. We read every comment and we love hearing from you.
What's one work conversation you're going to practice this week? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, keep talking, keep learning, and keep growing in your career.
Thanks for watching Talk in English. See you in the next series.
Goodbye, everyone.